Hi. So in my first video, some of the claims I made were quite large, to say the least, but I stand by them very firmly. Now, I'm sure you must appreciate that to explain the entire concept in a simple way that anyone could understand is not going to happen in just a few minutes. But to make this easier to digest, I've broken the Global Free Society concept down into several videos which you can view at your own leisure. So please watch them in order, otherwise you might not grasp the ideas as I intended you to. So now let me add some detail about what exactly the Global Free Society is and how it's structured. What makes the backbone of the Global Free Society are 7 strategies. And these strategies must be adopted together in order to deliver all the benefits that I've previously mentioned. And in the book I go into much more detail than I can in this summary video, but for the purposes of this entire presentation, I'm just going to cover the main points. The main points will give you a working knowledge of how we can change our future in the most positive of ways. But if you are a details person, then please feel free to download the free PDF version of the book, details somewhere below. And in the book and in this presentation, I go into detail on how we could operate this system globally, utilising the 7 strategies. But the tactics, the details I put forward are just a starting point. So the 7 strategies are not changeable, but the details, the tactics on how we could deliver the society I'm proposing are definitely changeable. And they have to be. A possible 7 billion people having knowledge and input is going to be far more robust than what just one single person could achieve. But we have to start somewhere, which is why I detail my ideas for the tactics at this stage that I believe would allow us to realise this new concept, this new ideology. So I'm just offering the first draft, the Global Free Society version 1.0. So you could say I'm just starting the conversation, and at some point in the future you will be asked to add your ideas, viewpoints and your comments. This might not make complete sense just yet, but I'm sure as we go through the strategies it will become a lot clearer. So let's start with the smallest presentation, the easiest strategy to comprehend. But it might be the shortest presentation, but it is a massively important strategy. And at first it might sound superficial to some, but at the very end of all the presentations, it will make far more sense and seem far more important than at first consideration. So strategy 1, unify the global population through a shared vision. Humanity's biggest strength is our sheer numbers, 7.8 billion people. But you could also argue it's our biggest weakness, and you could be right. But it's only a weakness if the current global system is unable to support the population. And we will cover this assertion in more detail in a later presentation. However, it is a strength, but only if we are united and work together as a species, as humanity. And why wouldn't we all be united? If you think about it logically, we all want the same things. We all want security for us and our family, access to quality food, clean water, somewhere to call home, and healthcare. They are the very basics. But I'd also like to think that we want to explore our own potential as a human being, a sentient soul, to grow and understand better what personal qualities we each have to offer. But imagine how unified globally we would all be if we agreed on a wonderful vision for our future that guaranteed all these basic human rights, and a lot more besides. How easy would we then collaborate together if we were all on the same page? If Planet Earth Corporation is to transform it into a system for the benefit of all the employees, then we must be very clear and united in our goals globally. We cannot have world peace and tackle global issues with just a handful of countries in agreement. Does that sound too far-fetched? To unify the global population? Too much of an unobtainable pipe dream? Well, for most people I think that it would seem impossible, especially if you get your world news only from the mainstream media. Because the picture they paint of our global society is not too positive. So that negative judgment that you have is very likely driven by your exposure to the news and social media that you see to a very large degree. But I have a problem with the mainstream media narrative, because I've never met anyone that wants to see people go hungry. And I've never met anyone who would want to remove our rights. And I've never met anyone who wants us to go to war needlessly. I just meet normal people that just want to live and let live. And if they can help another person, they will go out of their way to do that. In the vast majority of cases, humanity is a wonderful species with far more positive examples of our greatness than of our failures. It's just that the positive stories don't sell papers or produce enough click-through than the negative stories. But these negative viewpoints are driven by the current systems in place today. The current systems that I argue are completely out of date and need to be replaced. So yes, I agree that under the current system it would be difficult, if not impossible, to unite the population of the planet. But if we change the system to one which does not require us to compete with each other, then cooperation not only becomes a possibility, but an inevitability. And we don't necessarily need to change the system before we can get global buy-in. We just need the wider global population to understand and share a belief of how life could be much better. And now we have easy access to social media. That's a distinct possibility. And we'll cover all this in much more detail later on. So, did you know that all large organisations, companies or corporations have what's called a vision statement? A statement that allows all the staff in the organisation to understand what type of company they're working for, what they're trying to achieve, and where they're heading collectively. It seems common sense. Everyone in the company needs to know what ultimately they are trying to achieve and how. So where's humanity's vision statement? Where are we heading as a species? What are we trying to achieve? Does anyone in a position of influence actually have a vision for humanity? One that benefits us all, of course. There isn't one, so this must be the start of our journey. A vision statement that unites all the people through a shared vision. A promise of a better future and a goal for the future that everyone can understand and be part of. So I've taken the liberty to draft an initial version of a vision statement to give a clear statement and direction to the global free society concept. Eloquent wording is not my forte, so I've concentrated more on the meaning, the ethos and the DNA. So I'm hoping someone more gifted than I am can take that message and create a final draft more worthy. But again, we'll come back to that later. So here we go. We, a unified humanity, shall work together and agree to equally share all resources dependent on need, equity. We shall ensure freedom for everyone in all aspects of the meaning, with simple laws agreed by consensus allowing all to follow and adhere to without restricting personal choice. Non-harm and tolerance in all forms will be at the centre of our society and be applicable to all persons and collectives without exception. We shall all take responsibility for our personal actions with tolerance and respect at the very core of our society. An equal voice in all decisions of local and global importance will be our right. And restoring our beautiful and abundant planet to its former glory shall be at the forefront of our efforts, and finding new ways to live in symbiosis with our planet will remain our objective. The personal pursuit of happiness and fulfillment will be our new focus through career choices, as well as personal time to enjoy the fruits of our collective abundance. Freeing humankind from needless drudgery by utilising our immense combined intellect will be our shared goal, allowing all of humanity the freedom to experience life to its fullest and reach our greatest potential individually and as a collectively. Honesty, transparency and integrity shall permeate our entire global culture, and we will take immense pride in this planet and the resources we leave for our children. Even just one member of humanity not receiving all laid out in the global agreement will be seen as a failure of our desire to make this worthy dream a reality. We will not let that happen. So at the moment, that's just flowery words. But in the book, I go through each statement and give more detail about what this means. But just from an initial read, you can feel the intent, or I hope you can. Now, as I said previously, the idea here is for me to outline what I believe the global free society will offer and what we as a species should consider to be our unalienable rights. As well as a vision statement, most good companies also have a mission statement or company motto. A few quick motivational and inspirational words that can guide and remind people in their daily activities. So again, I'll open the discussion with my idea, but welcome anyone to come up with something better at a later date. But I propose something short and to the point. So I propose leave it better than you found it. Now this might seem a very strange choice for a mission statement, but that's because we've not unveiled the entire concept yet. And with all the freedoms promised in this movement, so comes much more personal responsibility, which is a very significant factor that features heavily in the coming presentations. And the deeper reason for this suggestion will become far more evident as we continue to explore the global free society. Now, it's not often I get a chance to publicly disagree with the president, but actually I'm going to disagree with two. In 1987, Ronald Reagan said the following words: "In our obsession with the antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. And I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world." And eerily, President Bill Clinton said similar words. "Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world." As intriguing as these words are, both the presidents are completely wrong. A threat might unite us temporarily, but once the threat has gone, history repeatedly shows us that we are equally as quick to divide. Only a shared vision that offers more safety, prosperity, and freedoms than division will unite humanity for the long term. So this is a global movement. It will not work with just one or two countries participating. And we certainly do not need every country, although that is the long-term goal. So not only will I propose a new system, but also show in real terms how we could make that a reality. And that to me is extremely important. Many people propose new ideas and concepts, but I've yet to find one that actually shows how we could make them a reality. But let me leave you with this thought. What would unite the people of this planet and have them demanding to be part of a new society? And the answer, I think, is success. Once we've achieved a working model within a few countries, more will follow. And adding the next countries will be easier as long as we show our system works. So as our society expands, it will put pressure on the other countries as their financial markets and industry comes under pressure from a declining global market, declining for them anyway. And we will cover this in a lot more detail in a later chapter. And we will only require a few countries participating at first, and that's probably all we could manage initially. But imagine how everyone would be excited and motivated to join our system when they see our society working, when they see how life would be considerably more rewarding and free than the old outdated systems that we see in place today. And exactly how we make this a reality will be covered in the very final presentation. And I truly hope to see you in the next presentation, where we now start to get a lot more radical and innovative. So see you there with an open mind. And have a go at rewriting the vision statement. It's not that easy, is it?